voices. But now, this is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us via Zoom and WZRD Dantès, EDM Electronic Dance music artist, actor, and also model. He's very well-rounded, multifaceted, talented person. How are you today, Dantès?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for saying all of those wonderful things. It's very humbling, and as always, to receive those compliments from my city. Thank you.
Oh, well, you're a wonderful artist and wonderful person, so of course we'll say that for you.
Oh, thank you.
So, Dantès, what has been your most recent project?
Well, my most recent project is my new single from New Jack City 1, which would be Skyrider, which actually just hit all platforms November 1st. So you guys can see that on all social medias. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Dantès Alexander, or on Facebook.
So if your fans go to the platforms, will they be able to hear the whole song or a teaser?
They'll be able to hear the whole song. Yeah, they'll be able to hear the whole song. It's from the New Jack City album. It's done very, very well. We released it in June, followed by New Jack City 2, which was sort of a sequel, on August 27th. But the latest single from both projects would be Skyrider, and that came out November 1st. We just shot a huge, huge video for it. Very, very different for Dantès. We went very CinemaScope. It's very beautiful. And I would hope that all of my Chicago listeners would go ahead and listen to it, check it out, share.
So Skyrider is the latest single for the album New Jack City. And then it was released on November 1st. And then with the video, accompanying video, Skyrider, that was shot in CinemaScope. Is that what you said? Is that what you meant?
CinemaScope, I don't think that CinemaScope technique is no longer used, but that's just a play on words by saying that it looks very cinematic.
Oh, well, can't wait to check that out. So where was it shot, your video?
So we actually shot some of it here in Chicago at SinSpace Studios. Anyone who's an actor here in Chicago has visited SinSpace. If you've done Empire, Star, or any of the other, Chicago-based companies, productions, you've shot there. So we shot a lot of it there, and then we did a lot of green and blue screen. So.
So it was totally in CineSpace, or was there any location filming as well?
So we shot majority of it in CineSpace to actually save money. All of the scenes that required blue and green screen, we actually shot those out of my home. So. Oh, okay. I know, right? That's pretty cool, right? Yeah,
yes,
technology has definitely come, a very long way. Which makes things more accessible for independent artists. You can do things that you probably ordinarily wouldn't be able to do. So I'm just grateful that I have a good team of people who have been assisting me behind the scenes. So.
And is your team from Chicago, or because now you're moving into Germany and maybe other places as well? So where is your team from?
Well, I'm not moving to Germany per se. Not moving to Germany per se. The only thing that we've done is we've just partnered with a company in Germany to distribute our releases on compilations and a variety of other projects there. So yeah.
So
but our team is that's actually a good question. I'm sorry. So my team is actually, spread out really honestly all over the country, because we're all, still sort of in this post-COVID 2.0 world. So I'm, used to working remotely, and the whole team, works remotely. My game designer and my engineer, he works out of Florida. We have people everywhere.
And how did you how did you meet up with all these people? How were you able to network to find all this talent?
Well, I think a lot of it comes from, I guess, networking, right? I've been working with a very good team of publicists, World Star Public Relations. And since I've, started working with them, I've done a lot of television, a lot of podcasts, and a lot of independent radio. So I've just been able to meet a lot of like-minded individuals, and just bumped into, a couple of people who had the same mind waves that I had. And we just decided to, join forces. So, all of these people are, permanent fixtures, in Dwarf Planet Media, which makes everybody hungrier, for the same goal.
And Dwarf Planet is your label, right?
Well, Dwarf Planet Media is my media company, yes.
Okay. And your team, they were worked with you in previous projects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody that we've worked with on this video, all projects, it's always the same team. It just makes for makes for an easier continuation of things that have already been laid out prior, so.
And when you work with World Star Public Relations to promote you in Germany, we noticed that you have a really huge fan base in Germany. So did the German audience come first, and then World Star helped you expand upon it, or did the German audience come because of World Star Public Relations?
Well, I think the being with a public relations firm definitely does help. But when you release music, and if you're successful getting picked up on different playlists, which is almost like the new radio, you'll find yourself opening up to new audiences. And I just so happen to find myself on a lot of small to medium-sized German playlists, and that's how that happened. So the publicist was essential for me to reach all different facets of the Dantès world, if that makes sense. So they've been really, really good in helping me secure a lot of different things, all over the digital spectrum, not just Germany. So
do you know if your publicist was at the World Star Public Relations? Did they send out copies of your music to radio stations all over the world? And then it happened that Germany was the country that became most attuned to your brand.
Well, right. Well, what actually ended up happening is when we set up the release, we set it up basically like you would an album. So radio is a small fraction of the puzzle now. So we focused heavily on playlisting and in-store placements and things like that. So so yeah, so I mean, that primarily was our strategy there.
What is in-store placements?
So in-store placements would be overhead music that you would hear, say, if you're walking in like Forever 21, Nordstrom, Gucci, things like that. So.
So where are you playing then? Can you share with us?
I think everybody's heard So Below, mostly in Forever 21. Yeah, so that was before the pandemic. When New Jack City came out, we set up some agreements with J. Crew here in Chicago and a couple of other stores to have them play music here regionally. And then we had some other things go on with Touch Tones and a couple of other people.
Touch Tones too? Like you mean for phones?
Well, Touch Tones provides the technology for bars to play their music.
Oh, but How did you end up having such a wide audience in Germany? Because it seems that so
Well, there's
for
always
years.
been a strong connection between disco dance and Germany. Electronic dance music is essentially a catch-all term for house music and disco, right? So when the remnants of, disco started to fizzle out in the early, 80s, what was left of it was essentially house music, which was something for, the marginalized to worship and dance to, at these clubs, at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning here in Chicago and Germany and all over the world. So, that there's always been a long-standing history between, Germany and Chicago when it comes to great music. And then outside of that, the label Wax Tracks, which is sort of a staple when you talk about music, alternative music, industrial music in Chicago. Like KMFDM is probably one of the bigger bands that was on the label here in Chicago. So that, that label focused heavily on like industrial music, which was a combination of house music and rock. You had Thrill Kill Cult, and a slew, of other, amazing artists that were from Germany, but got their, start here, in Chicago. So there's been a long-standing history between Chicago and Germany when it comes to music, just in general.
So how did you get nominated as in the EDM category for Chicago Music Awards? Do you know?
Well, I'm not sure how. It seems like that was such a lifetime ago. Honestly, things have just been, here we are, another year, almost gone. And but I believe the nominations just the ballots just went out, and I just solicited everybody to vote for me and my fans and industry personnel here in the Chicagoland area. Thought that I was the best in my category, and I found myself to be nominated.
And so your fans in Germany, they were not able to vote. It had to be your fans in Chicago, right?
Right. I won't say necessarily fans, but it was more so for industry personnel. It is open to fans, but the voting process definitely does take place by a body of people who are all proficient, in their field to vote on all of the categories.
What is new for 2022?
So for 2022, we're going to be releasing my next project, which is going to be the New Jack City 3 project, which will be coming out. I won't give a date on that yet, but hopefully it'll come out between March and May. And then I'm also working with a brand new artist named Two Watch on releasing his hip hop project. And then I have a remix that I was actually working on last year that got pushed back to 2022 for an iconic dance act that is hopefully going to be coming out in 2022. And then last but not least, I'm also working with Linda Rocco, who is a very famous background and session singer. She sang for Michael Jackson, Master Boy, and then she was also a voice of the real Milli Vanilli. So I'm going to be working with her on her solo debut to the world. So some very exciting things going on.
How did you start the? How did the connection happen between you and Linda Rocco?
Well, the connection between me and Linda Rocco actually happened when I was told to reach out to the label in Germany, and that's pretty much how that happened. We became good friends, and we just started talking, and I told her that I think that she's a wonderful person, and she has a wonderful voice, and she should be doing things front and center on her own, and she thought so too. So
Absolutely. So, is she based in Chicago or Germany, or she goes
Yeah,
everywhere?
so Linda is actually based in Frankfurt,
Ah,
Germany,
mhm.
not Frankfurt, Illinois.
Yes. Okay, awesome. It's such a small world. So you already knew of her, and then you finally met her, and then started to work with her. Then.
Yeah, I think life is amazing when you open yourself up to the idea of just meeting people
Mhm.
and never sacrificing what it is that you see your future as. So, but it's a very small world. I met her like I did the label through a very famous friend. Well, I'm just going to give him a shout out if that's okay. I'm going to
Sure.
send a shout out to everybody, all of my Germany. Oh, excuse me, sorry. All of my German family, Linda Rocco, Lane McCrae, Krazi, and yeah, good morning to you guys.
Well, yeah. Good morning. If you're listening from
Oh,
Germany.
afternoon, actually. I'm sorry. It's actually
Oh,
evening over there.
evening. Oh,
It's
yeah.
about, let's see, it's about 8 o'clock there
Oh,
now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because they're 7 hours ahead of us, all right? So it might be 5 o'clock there.
mhm.
Yeah, my math's off this morning. Excuse me, Miss Wizard.
Yeah, that's okay. It's early. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
uh, are you still acting? And if so, in what projects?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of acting. I'm doing a lot of acting primarily in my own projects and my own music videos. In my video game that came out that accompanied the New Jack City album, I do a lot of the sound effects in that game. So now the idea, for me and everybody at Dwarf Planet Media is to do projects that make sense to Dantès. And vehicles that are for Dantès to explore and create, additional stuff.
Mhm. Where could your viewers and fans find your video game, the New Jack City video game?
So the video game has actually been available for free on Google Play since October 1st. The flagship version, which is available on PC, you can go to itch.io. That is actually 2 players. And that game is available for $3. And that game has been really, really successful. The mobile game has only gotten about 50 downloads, but the PC game has got about 5,000 purchases.
Oh.
So it's been a massive underground hit for me, at least.
Are you able to track from what areas that the 5,000 downloads came?
Yeah, we have all of that information. That's actually probably the most important information is all of the data behind that. If you could see, my eyes just got big, but I have my shades on. But the data is the most important part because you want to be able to continue to connect with, all of your listeners, and consumers who experience what it is that you have. And it's a lot easier to reach out to them, in the future if you already have that contact information. So it's been, a lot of it actually has been from Chicago. A lot of it has been from Chicago. I'd say about 25% of it has come from Chicago. The remaining 50% is split evenly between Atlanta and Germany. So it's yeah.
Oh, and then there's like 25%. Yeah, right? 25% plus 50%. And then what about the other 25%? That's like
The other
the rest
25%, I would say,
miscellaneous?
honestly, is spread out all over the world. So.
So how did you also have a fan base in Atlanta?
Well, the great thing about the internet, is, if you're successful enough and if you have enough monthly listeners, and if people like it, they'll continue to add it to, their playlists. I did Get Out magazine last November. I'll also be returning next month for the December issue and Get Out Mag, which has a huge LGBTQ following in New York as a physical magazine. And then they also get about 300,000 monthly views online. So, Atlanta and all of these different places are sort of, gay communes, if you will say, and gay people are very loyal. And, if you're honest and you're yourself and you make, good music, then people will hopefully, like it and support it.
So is your EDM music being played in the clubs, like in the gay clubs as well?
Oh, I mean, everybody's heard it. I've heard it. They've been played at a variety of clubs. I've gotten asked to perform, at clubs and things like that. I just don't, I think Dantès would make a hideous drag queen, but, I find it flattering that, I'd be invited to.
So, well, if whenever you do take up the offer, let us know, and then we'll.
Of course.
Can you give our recording artists some advice on how to properly register their music so that their ISRC codes are properly embedded in their tracks metadata? Because we see that your tracks always pop up, and we have a system that tracks the metadata, and your tracks always pop up. Some artists have a very big problem in registering their tracks properly.
Well, that's all a part of label maintenance now, isn't it? Managing your catalog and making sure that you have ISRC numbers and your catalog numbers, and making sure that things are copywritten and all of these things. All of those things can kind of be laborious, if you're not familiar with how to do those things. In 2021, you can purchase ISRC code individually. If you do a quick Google search, I would encourage every musician who is self-releasing to release through a distributor such as DistroKid or a TuneCore or something like that. When you upload those tracks to, say, a DistroKid or a TuneCore, they will automatically, in some cases, provide you with an ISRC number automatically. So, and there's some artists, like I said, who aren't, directly releasing through some distributors. And if they're not, either way, you have to have software on your computer that allows you to go in and edit that. We have a software. I'm not going to give that out. It's a quick Google search. There's a lot of metadata software out there available on Windows and Mac where you can manually just go in and add all of the relevant metadata like artist name, year recorded, songwriters, all that. And all that metadata, like you mentioned, is very important just to make sure, that everybody who participated in the creation of that work is compensated. So it's very important, guys.
Absolutely. Have you ever worked with the CD Baby?
No, I have not worked with CD Baby. I'm actually signed through somewhat of a major distributor called Symphonic Distribution. It's not open to everybody. It's only open and available to artists who have somewhat of a following, traction, people who are, making waves. So, and DistroKid, CD Baby, those are available for everybody as long as you pay a price.
So at what point in your career did the Symphonic Distribution pick you up as a client?
Well, I started working with Symphonic probably I think a year ago. As of next month, it'll be about a year. So, and they've worked with my label and provided me with label services since that time. Very great company, very good company.
So what release did you have, and then Symphonic Distribution came in?
Well, I think, when So Below came out and TikTok and the Killer remix, that was last year. Everybody, like I said, everybody knows, So Below. That's, my most well-known hit. That song's been streamed over, 2 million times at this point. so it was just appropriate for me to, find a distribution company that could assist me, because it's, this isn't a record label, it's a distribution company. And it's for, artists who have an idea of how the music business should work. So it's more of a partnership.
Mhm. So now they're taking care of all your ISRC codes, etc. too, right?
Correct, but that's still something that I have to do.
Oh.
So yeah.
Oh, so you still have to upload them, and then they use them to do their promotional work, to do their distribution, symphonic.
Correct. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because then you have to be careful that you spell your tracks correctly, right? Otherwise, it gets very messed up in the metadata.
Yeah, spelling is very correctly. You want to make sure that your artist mapping is appropriate on all of the DSPs, Spotify, Apple Music, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. How has your diagnosis of HIV affected your art and your career?
I don't think it's actually affected anything that much. I think it's just made me realize how fragile we are and how important it is to take advantage of each day and live it as if it's our last. We're always complaining about, how bad we think our lives are, but in actuality, there's always somebody else who's going through a secret struggle that we don't know about. So I think it's just important for us just to be grateful and to try and have a connection with oneself so we can have a greater sense of community.
Mhm. Well, you look very healthy, so we're very glad of that, Dantès.
Oh, well, God bless you. Thank you, Miss Wizard. I try.
Can you tell us at what project were you working and about when were you diagnosed with the HIV?
Being diagnosed is not like a birthday. Sometimes those are things that one doesn't want to, it's, as you grow with things like aging, right? You tend to forget how old you are, like I'm going to be, 30 in March, but I don't, you forget, that you get what I'm saying. So, but I believe it was, I want to say 2017. I think it was.
Oh.
Or I can't recall off the top of my head. Time moves really, 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 really fast. But I know that since that time I have grown leaps and bounds, and learned the art of accountability and responsibility of oneself. I think that that is something that we young folks tend to forget about sometimes. We forget that taking care of oneself is a part of being an adult, and when we're working, sometimes we don't take the greatest care of ourselves because we're busy and we're going through. So it's just taught me how to take a little time for myself to make sure that I'm taking medication, that I'm getting rest, that I'm drinking water. And then, some days I do feel like crap, but for the most part, I deal with it and I soldier through.
Does it, so your music came afterwards because it seems as if we heard about you and about in 2019, we would say, so your music came afterwards then.
Oh my goodness. 2019, have I been around that long?
I think that's when we when you contacted us, and then we agreed to do our first interview. It was approximately, I think, 2019. Time goes fast. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, 2019. Yeah. Well, I think Killer came out. The first Killer came out in 2018, and then I paused. So yeah, I believe it was 2019.
Okay. So Killer was your first hit, right? And did you do anything earlier that anything at any other music before Killer?
No, I didn't do any other projects in music before Killer. That was my first song. Yeah, that was 2018. That cover was actually pretty popular. I think it's at like 400,000 streams now. It doesn't show on Spotify now because my biggest song is Killer. I'm sorry, is So Below. And then like I said, both New Jack City projects have been streamed over 200,000 times. So you won't see that anymore in my most popular tracks on Spotify. So, but you guys can still visit it in my single section.
So Killer must have been the most difficult project because it was the first project, your musical project. Can you share with us a little bit about how you gathered the team together to do a music project that you have never done before?
Well, everything's always the hardest when you're just getting started out, because you don't know who you are and what sound you want, and how you should sing, or how to write, or things like that. So I was fortunate enough to meet my business partner, and it took some time. There are a lot of recordings that have not seen the light of day, Miss Wizard. I can definitely tell you that. There are a lot of rough demos. I have some jazz in my catalog. It's funny. I feel like Prince at this point, because like I said, there's so many recordings that just will not see the light of day. I have some jazz. I have some 90s R&B / pop. But then I realized that I wasn't being authentic to myself, and it just didn't feel good, and it didn't sound, I mean, it sounded okay, but it didn't move me. So after spending probably close to about $2,000, we scrapped the whole entire thing, and we started recording Killer, which was the foundation for, I think, where I am now.
Mm-hmm. So were the lyrics written by you for Killer?
Well, I cannot take credit for Killer completely. Killer was actually recorded by Seal in 1989, but it was more famously covered by George Michael on his project in the late 90s. And then I covered it, and I dusted it off for the political, economic context that we all were living in at the time.
Right. So did you change anything, or was it just a cover? Did you change any lyrics at all?
I did. I added a rap to it. So that made it fresh and made it current. I've gotten so many messages from listeners all around the world how they actually prefer that version over Seal and George Michael's. So that's a really big compliment. And when the song first came out, I got a really nice write-up from EDM Nation saying that my cover was really, really great, and they didn't want me to stop doing George Michael covers. So yeah, and then that's a very big website in the electronic dance music space.
So how were you able to feel to tell that Killer was the one that was going to gain some traction? Any advice to artists about, or is it just that feeling?
I don't know if it's a feeling or if you just know. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I just knew that was the song that I wanted to record and introduce myself with. And it got picked up on some different playlists and things, and the wheels started moving. So.
So was there anybody that discouraged you from using Killer, from putting that one out?
Well, there's always a lot of danger when you do other people's songs, because you have to sing it as good or as better. So there was definitely some hesitation. If anybody didn't want me to record it, they certainly didn't tell me to my face. But but there's always that inherent danger of being tossed under the bus because you're covering someone's song not as good as them. So.
So do your German fans know about your roots in Chicago, and what do they think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They know that Chicago is home. They absolutely love it. Like I said, Germany and Chicago have a long secret relationship of friendship and intercultural intercontinuity, if that makes sense. That was a mouthful, but
And what do your German fans know about your HIV diagnosis?
Well, I think it's pretty clear to everyone. You know, I like I said, I've been in Get Out magazine, you know, speaking on it. I've been in several interviews, which are readily and easily available to anyone who goes to search for them. So everyone knows, you know, my status, and it's not really a big deal. So,
is your German fan base increasing now?
I think it's actually, I think it's grown. I would say my listens have grown astronomically around the world. Germany has never really just been a sole focus. You know, being a global artist has really been the, you know, the target. And when, you know, behind the scenes, when we're looking at, you know, all of the places where the music is being listened to, like Croatia, you know, Australia, Thailand, you know, Bali, Vietnam, you know, Japan, all of these places, that's a good thing. You know, being a world-class artist is a really good thing. Being a regional artist is great, but being a world-class artist is great. And being played in all regions of the world is a good thing. Yeah.
Do you have any idea about the demographic of these foreign places that gravitate toward your music?
Yeah. Of course we do. Yeah, we have demographics on everything. You know, where people listen, how long they listen, did they save it, how many times did they play it? Yeah.
Is it? Do you have an idea about what age groups listen to your music?
I actually I think it's pretty balanced. I think like everybody would I would say probably the majority of my listeners are in their early 20s to late 30s, and then a small majority of them are kids. So
Was EDM always electronic dance music always your favorite genre, or do the artists that inspire you resonate with EDM?
Well, again, EDM is just simply electronic dance music. So have I always liked disco? Absolutely. I've always liked disco. You know, have I always liked house music? Absolutely. Those are things that are, I think, a part of every Chicagoan. If you've grown up in Chicago, you have to have appreciation for disco and house music. You know, so yeah.
What were your recent milestones?
Recent milestones were, like I said, the New Jack City project. Both albums have been streamed over 200,000 times. We've reached about 3 million global sales collectively between all of the music that's been released. And a slew of other milestones. I try not to keep track of them so I can try and be as normal as possible, but there are quite a few.
So
And they're still growing.
Yes, for New Jack City, an album. So how many songs to an album? I had kind of like it seemed to me as if you're releasing one single at a time. And for New Jack City, then let's say album one. What songs are on album one, and then what songs are on album two?
Well, you know, I like to think of both of these projects as audiobooks because I incorporate a lot of interludes and skits to the tracks and to the music to create a synopsis of what daily life is like for somebody living in an urban environment. So for New Jack City 1, we have the title track, which is New Jack City, and Skywriter and The Sixth Dimension are the three songs on the first album. And then the second album, we have TikTok. And then what else is on? Every Night Dancing Every Night. And then there's Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm forgetting my my song.
It's no problem. Uh, okay. Um, so WZRD, let's do another community assessment with you, because all this time has elapsed, and then people change over time. So WZRD Chicago, being a nonprofit radio station, must be responsible to the community we serve. WZRD is mandated to file quarterly issues with the FCC on non-entertainment community-focused programming. And we like to assess the community for these quarterly issue topics. So first of all, what is most important to you now?
Well, I think my mission has always been pretty much the same thing. Has always been safety and public safety. I think public safety now is a greater concern in our community due to the continued sporadic, random lootings that are occurring in some of our stores locally. It certainly doesn't make you feel safe when you're leaving the red line on Jarvis at 10 o'clock at night, and you're leaving from work. There have been a lot of robberies on public transportation, stick-ups, things like that. So for me right now at this time, even though I don't ride public transportation as much anymore, what's important to me now is making sure that, we have a greater security presence on our public transportation systems, just to ensure that, the citizens can, go and come, freely without incident. Yeah.
What long-term problem must we address?
The long-term problem for Chicago at this point, I think, continues to be diversity within its political ranks. We have a lot of aldermen, I feel like, who are making $120,000 a year and aren't really interested in investing themselves and finding resources for the community. It's very tragic. There are a lot of aldermen, thankfully, our ward is fine, but there are other wards, across the city, where aldermen are more concerned with putting on festivals than actually getting proper community resources such as grocery stores and things like that. I won't say any names, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what problem must be resolved now?
I think now is a combination of all of those things that I just said.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It should happen, and it should have happened, a while ago. And there's only so much that we can do as citizens. And my piece, of the puzzle and addressing the puzzle is the New Jack City project, in the video game and the album. So, and I think it's definitely resonated with people all around the world, and we have to not be afraid to love ourselves and love our neighbor. If you see, a woman in the street having an issue with her boyfriend, are you going to walk by and not call the police, or are you just going to let something happen? So these are the things that we have to ask ourselves in this day and age now, because we've become so desensitized to that, that crimes are happening where people are just recording them. So we have to be willing to make the change and the sacrifice within ourselves to provoke that thought. So if you see someone having, a hard time, help them out. If you see some, domestic violence going on in the street, then yes, do call the police. You're not being nosy. You're just making sure that the young lady is going to make it home safe.
So New Jack City derived from your concern for public safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of the lyrical content is essentially talking about the gun violence and the shooting amongst kids, mothers losing their children, God. So the project talks about safety and religion and community. I don't think a lot of people may know that because they're entrenched in the sounds, but that's what all of these projects are about.
In Germany, you're selling very well too. At least you're getting a lot of listens on the social media platforms. Are they having the same public safety problems as we are, and the music is resonating with them, or is it just the sound of the music, do you think?
I think Europe has their own set of problems right now. Europe is back in lockdown because of the COVID situation. Music has always played a big fight in any revolution, that goes on. A lot of European countries right now are in the middle of some deep protests because of the imposed lockdowns that are going on, because like here, our cases are continuing to rise. They are choosing to do something about it while we are just closing a blind eye. And yeah, so.
Do you know about how the public safety is in Germany? Is there any parallel between what's happening there and what's happening here?
I don't think there's a parallel between what's going on there and what's happening here. I think the big difference is how they are choosing to handle the pandemic. Public safety, I feel like, is pretty much the same all over the world, with a couple of small interchangeable differences. Europe is very, very strict when it comes to certain things. And there are a lot of songs that are being played right now in protest to that. I'm not sure if my song is one of those things or not, but I'm definitely, sending a lot of love and support to, all of the European, Union states who are struggling through this pandemic as we are right now.
Also, since they do gravitate towards your song, do you know if their views toward the police officers are similar to here? Are there any, let's say, over here, there's this like defund the police and objections to policing. Is there any of this happening over in Europe?
Well, every country is different, right? Every country is different. In countries where there is a large minority, of course, there will be some problems with the police. Obviously, in England or like the UK, obviously, there is a small issue with racism. Germany, there is, a minority there, but they don't have the same issues that we do because they treat everybody the same way, regardless of, if you're, white, black, yellow, green. And that's why you see a lot of people choose to, leave and go to Germany, is because you don't have, a lot of the issues. You don't have to, you won't be harassed, driving in your car in the city of Chicago, as opposed to going to Germany. You drive your car, walk around, what have you, and just be looked at as a normal person, as opposed to, a black person, white person, Filipino, what have you. So it's a completely different lifestyle, and certain countries don't have to deal with those challenges because it's not a system that has been built on, societal and environmental racism.
And do you know if your German fans know that your New Jack City is derived from your concerns about public safety in Chicago?
They may. I'm not sure. I have gotten some fan mail where people have said that the project, has inspired them, and it's filled with a lot of love and soul. So hopefully that the lyrical content is connected to those emotions that they're telling me.
Have you appeared in Germany, performed for your fans in Germany?
Oh, no, have not, and probably will not for quite some time because they're on lockdown right now.
Right. Yes. Well, I was thinking about, so when did, 2018 Killer came out, and then did that already start making some inroads into Germany, or which was the song that
Well,
made
I want to
inroads?
point out that like we're not focused solely on Germany. Germany is just a small portion of Dantès. You know, we're focused globally. Germany is a small portion of a distribution strategy. I just want to point that out. You know, if you're trying to make inroads into any country, you go and you establish partnerships in those countries, just like we have and will continue in other countries. So Germany is just as important as the United States and just as important as Japan and all of these other places. So I'm not focused, you know, solely on Germany. But all of the traction for everything that's going on now started with So Below. So Below came out in 2020, and that song was featured on a lot of big Spotify playlists. And that's what started the journey where we are now. So,
well, congratulations for that. Do you
Thank
have
you.
any? Do you have any dates that are coming up that you want your fans to know about?
So we're working on some 2022 dates. We had some 2021 dates that were lined up for this year, but due to how the COVID pandemic has continued to rise, I felt and my team felt that it would probably be best just to continue to wait until, you know, Q1 for dates. So we'll have those dates as time progresses.
Okay, awesome. Well, Dantès Alexander, Dantès, thank you so much for joining us on WZRD and lending some insight as to your work and your fan base and what you are concerned about that is reflected in your work.
Thank you so much, Miss Wizard. I really appreciate you guys for having me.
Have a great day and be safe. Dantès.
Thank you.